Welcome to Gateway CDC's Women's History Month program, Women Providing Healing and Promoting Health. Many of you know that Women's History Month actually has a theme, and I thought the theme from Women's History Month was a takeoff from the theme from Black History Month. Black History Month's theme was Black Health and Wealth, and now in March, the Women's History Month theme is Women Providing Healing and Promoting Hope. Now we know that women always provide healing and promote hope. But this just gives us an opportunity to take a little laser focus on that. And I'm so thrilled that we will have the mayors with us today from all of our municipalities. And then we're going to have another session with some of our resident artists from the Media Arts Lab. But I just wanted to welcome you to Gateway CDC's Women's History Month program on behalf of our president, Anthony Lee, and Marcus Monroe, our vice president and the board of directors of Gateway CDC. I say welcome to you. My name is Pat Thornton. I'm the executive director for Gateway CDC. We have three mayors with us. We have Mayor Petrella Robinson, and she's the mayor of North Brentwood. Can you wave your hand, Petrella Robinson? And then we have Mayor, thank you so much. And then we have Mayor Rocio Tremino Lopez, and she's the mayor of Brentwood. Hi, Mayor Tremino Lopez. And our most recent mayor to join the fold, but one who's really trailblazing right ahead. We have Mayor Selena Benitez. Mayor Benitez, welcome. Oh, I'm so thrilled to have all three of you on with me as we talk about how you've been doing. So, the first thing that I always do, those of you who know me know I also have a radio show. I always think it's better to hear from the people themselves. So instead of my reading your bios, I'll actually allow you to tell us a little bit about yourselves, that 1 or 2 minute spiel where you talk about whatever it is you want to share with our audience. We'll start with Mayor Robinson.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I am so glad to be here. It's a pleasure. This is going to be informative, and I always like to have things that are fun. And we're going to put some laughter in this too, because sometimes you just have to laugh. Even through all the sad things that are going on. COVID was mostly what we're talking about. But we have to laugh. Well, I've been mayor of the town of North Brentwood since 2007. I've worked in other capacities in the town also. I've been the clerk and I've been a council person. And I was raised here. So I've been here for a while, and it was just a beautiful life. And when it was time to serve, I stepped up and I did. And I raised my children here. So, and it was a good place to raise children. And so, and I also worked 35 years at Voice of America as a computer specialist. So, and I've been taught by the best in North Brentwood, those pioneers, Miss Phil Yaw, and the previous mayors, Mayor Beverly. I've been mentored by them. So I'm just so glad I had that opportunity, that God gave me that opportunity to just have mentors like that. So I'm here to just go ahead and finish my next term, which is 2023. We have a new election, and I don't plan to run, but I plan to keep being involved in the town of North Brentwood because I love North Brentwood.
Well, your legacy will live on forever, and I'll forever call you Mayor Robinson.
Yeah.
When we look at the guidebooks for how we officially address someone, some titles stay with you forever and some don't. But when you go to the heart of hearts,
yeah,
when you live it for most of your life, then it's something that you embody for the rest of your life. So you'll be mayor forever, and I will ingratiate whomever comes up. But we thank you for your service.
Thank you, and you're right, and you're so right about that.
Yeah, because you feel it and it's your heart and you can tell. So we have another mayor who's been with us for a while, Mayor Rocio Tremino Lopez. Welcome. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey?
Thank you, Pat. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's an honor to be here. And yes, I am the mayor of the town of Brentwood for the last 7 years. And town council. It's been 8 years already. So I came from El Salvador at the age of 15. I didn't come directly to, it was funny because my piece of the story is like, I have family in Brentwood, New York. And when I moved from El Salvador, we went to New York and visit my family often in Brentwood. And then I moved to Washington, D.C., and I was pushed to this area, and I ended up being in North Brentwood. So that's how I met Mayor Robinson, because I moved to Brentwood, North Brentwood, in 1999. And since then, I've been in this area, Brentwood, North Brentwood. So I'm passionate about serving. That's something that I really enjoy. But like you say, we're going to talk about this. We also need time for ourselves. That sometimes we don't take a moment to think that our body is also a sanctuary that needs to be healed as well. And now I'm trying to do as much as I do for the community, I'm also trying to do for myself. So that's me.
Thank you so much. And you too, you said 7 years, but you've been here so long that I actually knew that Mayor Robinson had been here longer, with protocol, anyone who knows me know I'm about protocol. So I had to go to the person who was here the longest and so on and so forth. But Brentwood, you have embodied Brentwood so much that the names go hand in hand. And I too feel the sense of community that you have with all of your residents.
Yeah.
I came over there one time when you were having International Day and decided to do some African dance with you, and you were right out there with us.
Yes.
So it's a pleasure to have you on the show, and thank you so much for being here. And you're welcome. Last but not least, certainly not least, we have Mayor Selena Benitez. As I mentioned, she's our newest mayor to the fold. She represents the city of Mount Rainier, and she has a lot of passion. And if we were worried about our next generation, we have to worry no more. Mayor Benitez, will you introduce yourself?
Selena Benitez, very honored to be the mayor of the city of Mount Rainier. And following a big legacy of great women, not just in the area, but also in the city. Mayor Miles was our mayor for 20 years, first African-American mayor. And I'm the first Latina mayor of the city of Mount Rainier. So we were able to exchange from one first mayor African-American to one first mayor Latina. So that gives you a transition on it. Born and raised in El Salvador until the age of 10, moved to California, where I did all of my education, including degrees in political science. So that's a bit of my background, dealing with a lot of international relationships between the United States and other countries, but focusing a lot when it came to the social demographics of the area and how impacted our communities were and how differentiated they were in the various levels of not just political, but health, outreach, social programs. So that's how it got me a bit interesting. I got married and I moved to the city of Mount Rainier, where the family was here for more than 20 years. So our family that I married to, who's also my family, has had a long legacy also in the city. And I wrap with, prior to being mayor for the last year, ending up this May, right? I was a council member for 4 years. And in the meantime, I've done my best to make sure we continue to bring the community together and be able to make sure we share who we are as a community, but move forward in the ideas of who we are and our values as well as a city. So it's an honor being here with wonderful women and people that have broke grand ceilings all across. So I'm happy to join this panel.
We're happy to have you. And as I said, worry no more. We have not to worry anymore. Oftentimes, as I've been coming up, being a child and a product who came right up after the 60s. So I was able to go to school. It's kind of like a time right now. I tell all the kids, go take advantage of all these opportunities that are going on right now, because this may not be around for a long time. All the little school grants and all of this. So I came up right after the 60s where we could go to school. I was over there at Stony Brook, and you had support, you had money and everything like that. And during my time thinking about my brothers and sisters who sacrificed during the civil rights movement, oftentimes I've wondered, if it's going to be okay for the next generation. We were so busy trying to protect the next generation and not have them experience the pain we experienced that I felt we might not have trained them well enough or inspired them enough. But let me tell you, Mayor Selena Benitez has taken care of everything for us. If you're an example of what is yet to come and what is out there, and these young people with the Black Lives Matter and everything, I no longer worry about the next generation. But Selena mentioned something that actually is the drive behind why I wanted to bring the mayors together. I'm going to start with you, Mayor Tremino Lopez. You know, during this time of COVID, all of you mayors have had to embrace your constituents in a different way. I actually went and saw you, Mayor Tremino Lopez, and Mayor Portela Robinson at one of Mayor Robinson's site, which happened to be down the street from my office when I needed to get my booster. So you all were out there rolling up your sleeves and doing all of that. And you were going above and beyond, not only to be present, I felt, but to let people know, here I am. If you're worried, I'm right here, so it's okay. And I felt that sense when I came in. So I'm going to start with you to just tell us a little bit about what you've been doing during COVID and unfold some of the tenets about how you feel, how this has made you feel and brought you to your present day. So you can do the past and the present.
Well, let me start from the beginning. I remember this was back 2 years ago. March 13 was my last day in the office where I work. And then I came back here to be in my, I'm not used to that. I'm very personal. I really like the connection with one-on-one, feeling that I can help people that way. But when I was indoors, I felt like, what do I need to do to help? Because everything was so uncertain. But it wasn't really when it hit me the hardest when one of my neighbors, like 2 doors down the street, her husband passed and she was very ill and he had COVID. And I had to get my officers, I have to get everybody involved. So not knowing exactly what to do. So it was like time for me to say, and this was April 7th. And what am I gonna do? I can't stay right here doing anything, just waiting for what's gonna happen. So I start calling friends and people, what are we gonna do? Because people were like, we don't have jobs, or we can go to work, we don't have food, we don't have masks. So I start connecting with different people. I start making phone calls. And I remember that the very first thing I did is like people that were sick with COVID, they didn't have anyone who brought food to them. So I partnered with this restaurant, Latino restaurant, and I said, can I buy soup from you or some, because you know, when people are sick, they really don't want a heavy meal or anything. So I find out myself delivering food with my husband to the doorstep. There were people even from other places like Langley Park area calling me, can you bring us some food? We don't have diapers, we don't have medicine. Can somebody help us here? Because it was not just a matter of having the need, also they didn't have the money at the time because they were losing their jobs. So, and eventually it's when we start doing the food distribution, we gather some food, so I start making phone calls. And I remember that former Vice Mayor Harrison, she had the contact with some food distribution and they did one-day meal for Mother's Day. But before that, I was already, you know, doing some, talking to the different stores, like if you have anything that I can bring over to the families. We also did an emergency fund so we can buy grocery for people that need it the most. So we were like not reacting to the time, but we were also projecting what will be the next step. Well, how can we make it work? How can we help our residents? Because we didn't know exactly what was going on. So a lot of the things, we also partnered with one of my neighbors in Hyattsville. She was making masks. So she donated 60 masks for the seniors, because remember at that time, there were no masks to be found. So she did the first 60. Then I received another batch for the police officers from another business owner. She provide only for the first responders. So she made those masks. That was from La Chiquita restaurant. So, and I actually was delivering those masks with her to all the municipal departments around Bladensburg, Riverdale, Mount Rainier, every municipality close to me, I was making that delivery, fire departments as well. So it was like, I felt like, the first year I did not stop. I was every week we were trying. I even drove a truck to Baltimore to pick up some food. Never drove a truck before. I mean, I had like a SUV. That was the biggest thing that I drive, but I rent a U-Haul and I drove myself over there. So, and we were under the rain, filling that truck. And by the time we came back to town, I think it was around 3:30, 4 o'clock. I already have a huge line. People waiting for me for the food. We also have milk. So I have to say, the response that we get from different business owners, from different organizations, it was great. Also, the county was able to provide us with some resources. Capital Food Bank was so great to partner with us, so providing, we first had weekly vegetables. Now we only have twice a month, but we still have the program running until June 30th. So it has been like a very, very active. I would say that we did not stop. And when I say we, is because I include my other mayors, because we know we've been working so hard. So.
Well, that's. Whew. I actually, you all at Brentwood gave away $50,000 to some artists and to some residents who were going through some changes, and Gateway administered that grant for you. And I came by one night to bring the reports and the checks, and it was during the food delivery pickup. And I tell you, I was telling Mayor Benitez, I was in tears, because it just really brought it home. When you see that line of cars going all the way around the block, it's something. So we appreciate all that you've done there. And also, was that Brentwood, Long Island that you used to live in New York?
Yes.
See, because I'm a native New Yorker. I grew up in Bayside and I went to Stony Brook. So we passed Brentwood on the way.
Yeah, well, I was in Farmingdale. I went to Farmingdale High School, but my family, they still live in Brentwood, New York.
Well, that is on the way to Stony Brook from Queens. And so
yes.
I pass you by kind of often. And so it's good that you're home again. And, I was saying that I saw you with Mayor Robinson. Mayor Robinson, perhaps you can share some of what you've done and some of what you're doing to continue this trend, because I know that you've had to step outside of what a mayor is supposed to be.
And we all have. We have stepped outside, and we all did. Not only mayors, leaders, but everybody, every citizen and resident had to step outside, because things were happening so fast. And another thing is, nobody knew what to do. It hit so hard. Then you had to think. Nobody knew what to do. So, like Mayor Lopez stated, we all work together. That's what happened. We all work together. Some people have ideas for, are swift on their feet, and they can think of ideas. Let's start here. Let's start. And that spread it. That spread it through the municipalities. It spread it to the organizations. Most of us are members of the Prince George's County Municipal Association. There's the Maryland Black Mayors, there's the Maryland Municipal League. All of these entities helped us to get through. The collaboration, what we did first of all, we've installed a filtering system on our HVAC on our building to help ventilation. They say ventilation is very, very important. I did learn last week at a webinar that even in the air, the ventilation is good in the air. It's the best in the air. So we did do that. And then also the collaboration we had, North Brentwood, and Carter City, 20722 collaboration, where you, Pat, came and got your shot. And she was just there. She said, "Can I get my son?" "Sure, you can get your shot." And we gave away food. The first clinic, we gave away the great food that they had. Everybody ate.
Yeah, I love that food.
Yeah, and a care.
It was seafood.
It was seafood.
Great.
And the caregiver, if your caregiver was with you, you got fed too. If you had children, you got fed too. Everybody didn't have to get the shot, but you bought somebody that could get the shot. And it was just a great collaboration. I think we reached about 250 people, which was a great, great start. And it was a great, great start because vaccination clinics started popping up all over and things were just moving. And then, and that made a difference. And we have done so much. The masks, we come together and buy masks ourselves collectively. I don't know the name of the group you were talking about, Mayor Lopez, but I can't remember, but they're the ones that gave us the masks too. They made them, they sold the masks. So everybody was involved. It was a shock and still a shock kind of now because we think we're out of it, but we don't know that. And then what do we do next? So I just want to say, and then we led some other things into play because mental illness and we found out people were lonely, things people need therapists. We haven't finished. So that's what we're going to be talking about. That's what we're talking about now. Mental awareness. We haven't finished with this COVID, and we probably won't be finished with it for a while. And we have to be on our toes, and we have to do the same thing that we've done before to work together. And I appreciate you, Pat, to come and bringing us together to talk about this because sometimes it's very, very hard. It was very, very hard for people, not only not having money, not having jobs, but some of them being alone, being sick alone. And you couldn't go to the hospitals with them. Being sick alone is a bit much. So we're going to be working harder and to further this because there are other things that we have to do that COVID has created for us.
Absolutely. And it's an honor and a privilege to host this particular webinar, but it's an honor and a privilege to work with each and every one of you because those of you who don't know, my master's work was in policy administration and research and social welfare. I am acutely aware of the fact that we have another challenge that's right with us right now because people, as Mayor Tremino Lopez said, were without jobs through no fault of their own. They didn't have money. People who had six-figure job pays were without money, without hope, without promise, without opportunity, and you all had to figure it out. So I know all too well that if we sit and think that it's all over, that we're going to have a higher hill to climb, which is why I wanted to do something like this. And so I thank all of you for hearkening to the call. And last but not least, again, and we're going to start the last one with you, Mayor Selena Benitez. Please share what you've done and then talk a little bit about what happened in the past, present, and you can start off with where you're going.
Okay, no, thank you for the opportunity. And the other mayors are correct. We had to come together and figure out what to do. At least for me, part of the things that I didn't mention was when I came to El Salvador, we're going through a civil war. So we've seen like the worst humanity could potentially do to each other. Rocio Tremino Lopez is also from El Salvador. We came more or less about the same time, right? So that is what we were experiencing, 12 years of war, lack of food, accessibility, and a lot of stuff going on. So one of the things that I knew when all this was landing of us is like food was gonna be one of the things that people needed the most. So I did reach out I was part of the Latino Advisory Board for the county. So I did reach out to Katina. And I know brainstorming were like, who can help us in the middle of a disaster, right? And we reach out to Jose Andres, who's with World Central Kitchen, who their specialty is to go to all these various locations that have worked, gone to Louisiana. They're right now like feeding people in the Ukrainian border. So it gives you in a sense of starting thinking like what potentially this would look like. So the first days of the pandemic, Monday through Friday, we were giving out food. What became a simple pilot project that we're going to give 100 hot meals to figure out how it's going to work became more than 3 months, a Monday through Friday, hot meals being delivered to our seniors, because our big concern is like we have 2 senior buildings. And if COVID were to break through to those buildings, we will have a big impact in our community. So we were able to deliver at the doors every single morning food to all of our seniors, and also drive around through the whole entire town, delivering food at the door of people that also had COVID. And the ones that were able to like make it to the locations, we make sure that like volunteers came together. We had 3 feeding stations in the city of Mount Rainier, where there will be a way with social distance, right? Come and collect their food in order to be able to provide what we needed. At that point, it wasn't like, are you a Mount Rainier resident? It's like, if you need the help, we want to make sure we provide it for you, and we want to make sure we're able to help. So that became an ordeal where they were like, they're more consistent. The post office, rain, shine, snow, it didn't matter. We were at the door delivering food. And as people like got into a better situation, we would like alternate and change it and provide the food. We'll ask for them to be honest if they no longer needed the help, to let us know so that we could reach out to other people. And then from then became the idea of like making sure we were fighting to have the mobile site clinics brought to us. So that was probably the biggest things we had to accomplish. So once the vaccines became accessible, most of our residents are not in a position to take a bus and travel X distance to be able to get the vaccine. And that created a spot where, the vaccines were not coming to our district, the vaccines were not coming direct. So we started advocating and fighting to make sure that the vaccines were created in a way that they could mobilize into their communities in order for them to be able to bring them in vans. So we could bring them to the apartments, we could bring them to the schools, we could bring them to the nonprofits. So that advocacy allowed for our staff that was in the front lines to be able to get vaccinated, to the point that, a couple of us were like, well, don't vaccinate the elected officials, vaccinate the crews like, besides PD, our public works teams, because they're the ones that are in the front line and making sure they're fine. So we managed to get PD, public works, but also our volunteers that were in the front line vaccinated to make sure they were safe and protected. We were able to provide funds for our businesses, for rental assistance, as well. Make sure that we had a social service coordinator on site to be able to connect with whatever resources they were. And I'm happy now with the American Relief Fund, we have been able to move that position to a full-time. So we're one of the few cities in the state that actually has, I think we'll be the only one that actually has a social service coordinator as part of their team, in order for us to be able to address those details directly. So where are we going with this? I strongly believe that we need to, if COVID, if there's any silver lining on it, we have been able to see upfront the weaknesses of our system that will happen even before when it comes to accessibility to health. And also a big issue that people found out is like people that are employed, their health benefits were tied to their employment. Once you no longer have employment, you no longer had health benefits. So now you were put in a situation that people were charging other people like $300 to $500 to do COVID tests to be able to try to find jobs to be healthy. So that created a more of a motion for people to say, your health services cannot be tied out to your job. We need to start thinking about doing something so that way that is not the case. Also, it showed that our communities, very heavily African-American and Latino and migrant communities, because of no accessibility to health services, were more in line of being more affected and not being able to survive the virus. And those are the reason why the numbers were so high. So for us, with the American Relief Fund, we want to make sure we continue investing in our businesses, including our artists. So we've been able to release $50,000 to do that. Be able to put a program for the second time when it comes to rental assistance. We had 4 different waves with the former money, now with ARPA. Be able to fund scholarships for kids, because we want to make sure that the fact that COVID is here does not stop them from going and reaching higher education. Same thing comes for outdoor classrooms, for funding for Mount Rainier Elementary and Thomas Stone.
And one second, ARPA, what is ARPA?
The American Rescue Plan funds.
Okay, thank you.
That's federal funds that were released, and we actually fought to make sure that came directly to the municipalities, because we told them, we know our community, we know where the funds need to go. We do not need them to go to the county or the state, so they came directly to us.
All righty. You got that rap motion. Very good, very good. Well, but you're passionate. I can understand, because now we have to do next level business. So Mayor Rocio Tremillo Lopez, tell us a little bit about your here and now. What can we expect going forward, and what can your constituents, how can they become engaged?
Well, Pat, I find myself in a very, very, I will say, lucky position that I'm not able to only help the residents, but also the businesses. As you know, I work for the Economic Development Corporation in Prince George's County, and we always not only, I didn't mention that part, that it wasn't only working with the residents in the town of Brentwood, also I was working with the businesses, not only the Latinos, but you know, we have a lot of businesses here in town that needed that connection, they needed those funds that we also have. The county had $46 million just to give us a grant to the small business. So I was outreaching for a small business to make sure they are informed about these funds available to them. Because at first it was said that it was going to be a loan, but eventually that changed, and whoever got those funds, they were granted. So I think I have to say I was good time managing myself, because I was not just doing the business, I also was doing the residents. We have a lot of, we put funds here too to be able to support the residents that need. We've been paying, I cannot give you a number out of my head right now, how much money we have paid for residents that pay their utility bills, rent, their mortgage. What more importantly, their mortgage. We don't want to have people losing their properties because they're unable to pay. We also have partnered with the sheriff's department to make sure, they provide us a list of any people that are in their eviction list. And luckily, we haven't had anyone in Brentwood, at least for the time being, but we connected with them. So they have to let us know if there's any reason, they are being evicted, if it's about, not being able to pay their rent. So we can help out. We don't want to see people are getting displaced because they're unable to pay because they were sick, they lost their job. So I'm also, connecting with the workforce, making sure people get informed that there are positions available, there are jobs that are available. But at the same time, we need to understand that people are scared. They're still scared. And I can actually understand, because it happened to us. My daughter just put something up there. It's like, she went for a training. She went back to work and she went for a training. So when she came back 3 days after her training, she got COVID. And for the second time, So from that, we all got COVID in the house. So it is a touchy subject when it comes like, yes, I want to work, but what of the type of work are going to be doing? How exposed are going to be there? And they all are being vaccinated, right? So it is not just, we need to start understanding it's not lack of people not wanting to work. There's a lot of jobs available up there. I talk to the business owners all the time, and they're like, we don't have people to work. We need people. They've been paying more, but we need people. So we need to start understanding that part that we are going to talk is like mental health, how we go back to normal, how we going to be going back to trust ourselves out there. So it is important to be talking about this, because it's not just, okay, COVID is gone, but how I feel, I have anxiety just to think that I'm going back.
Absolutely. And you couldn't have given me a better segue. I have to do my little one wrap. We have our mental health coming up, but I want to get to Mayor Robinson. I know she has to leave and she's coming in up the rear to let us know we're wrapping on the last part, which is, where are you going to from now? And I know that Mayor Benitez brought up, the beginning. Mayor Lopez talked a lot about the services and things, and people losing their homes, their jobs, and all of that kind of thing. And I know you had close to your heart some activities and some engagement and opportunities for the future. Let me give you an opportunity to do that. We've got about 3 minutes.
Okay. Thank you again. Thank you
Okay.
again.
Sure.
Yes, North Brentwood, what we have done and what we're trying to get together now is an entrepreneurship program for those people who want to turn that chapter, go to another chapter in their book. You know, the job scene has been kind of bleak and people don't want to go back to work, but there are a lot of people that want to have their own businesses and, you know, and have their own you know, way of making a living. And sometimes we have to invest in that. And that's what the town of North Brentwood is investing in. And we want to have some partners such as Mount Rainier and Brentwood. I will talk to you about that. But this program is for people who want to do something different because things have changed through COVID. And we know, and it's like they said, the mental awareness and the therapeutic things that we need, it's out there, but we have to just stretch out and get it. And sometimes it's in different directions. It's not in the same direction that everybody else goes. But I think entrepreneurship is one of the things. I think we have a poor rate of Black and Hispanic men that are not working and want to do and women too, who want to do their own thing and learn how to do that. So that is one of the programs that North Brentwood, and it's called Teach Them to Fish. And we're going to be working on that. We're also going to be working on trying to give people a little uplift or direction on where to go as far as if you need help. We also received the American Rescue Plan monies too, and we're offering housing and utility and assistance. We've also gave some assistance to our businesses, but we really want to focus on what our citizens need. We also have needs as far as, you know, flooding that we had in North Brentwood and in our area is a big problem, and it's coming back to haunt us. So we're investing some money in some stormwater managements because you got to have that. And you can't live. You got to be able to get rid of some of this water. So, and we're investing money in that. But we also, I think the main thing that we really want to do is to keep on talking and keep on discussing together as a community, because I think we do so much. We do so much better. All the towns, they do so well, and we do so well together. We're here together to work together to make our life better and our citizens' lives better. And that's the person over that's not in Brentwood, Mount Rainier. That's the person over in Bladensburg. That's the person over in Riverdale or up in Hyattsville, whatever. We're talking about a whole community to help whomever that needs help. And we're hoping that the county, we know the county has some programs for us, let's say that, but we're going to be working with them, and they have been a asset to us too. They gave us some tests to be distributed. We've all invested in masks, and I want everybody to know, please come get your test in North Brentwood. If you haven't got your test, come get your test, okay? And they're free. So, but I feel like we're going in the right direction, and I think we're going to get there, but I think it's going to take a lot of thought and time as far as maybe therapeutic and under mental awareness that really can help us.
You know, you give me a great segue right there, because after talking to you, Mayor Robinson said, I was introduced to somebody you have to talk to. Pat, you're thinking about mental health and mental awareness being very important. You need to call Ms. Darlene Wood. Mm-hmm. And so I'm calling Ms. Darlene Wood to come into the conversation right now, because I called Darlene Wood, who obviously must have done some sort of a seminar talk with Mayor Robinson. And she was at least involved in an interaction where she elucidated and made clear the importance of mental health. So Darlene Wood of DSW and Associates, and also representing a mental health engagement, is coming into the conversation so that we can, Darlene, as I said, we're going to give you 5 minutes to talk about the importance of mental health, and also to destigmatize, I made that up, destigmatize the whole notion of mental health care, and so that people can actually stop thinking about anything negative about mental health, but to begin to embrace mental health. So Darlene Wood, and I see you have someone else with you whom you will introduce. Please take those 5 minutes because after then we're going to have a little bit of chat and conversation to help people realize the importance of mental health. Welcome, and please introduce your guest.
Hey, good afternoon, you all. Thank you so much for having us on. I am Darlene Wood. I am the owner and founder of DSW and Associates. I have contracts with Life Enhancement Services in Washington, D.C., which is a Black-owned mental health company. And I'm contracted here with a New Care Counseling Services. And we just expanded to the Atlanta, Maryland area. And this young lady sitting beside me is the owner, CEO, Miss Tamara Hewitt, who is the owner, the clinical person, and just the brains behind the New Care Counseling Services.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to make those 5 minutes, but Mayor Tremino Lopez, please stay with us. And also Mayor Benitez, because at the end of this, we're going to have a little Q&A, but please go ahead.
So I'm going to let Ms. Hewitt start off on the stigma as well.
Welcome, Ms. Hewitt. Why don't you begin?
Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much. And you are correct. There is a stigma, and there are a few stigmas in mental health. One thing, men don't like to get into counseling. They feel like I'm gonna make up a word. It demales them. I'm gonna make that word up. That's my.
Yeah.
So it takes away their manhood, which is completely untrue. Black people don't like counseling because we go to church. So Jesus made counselors and therapists for a reason. So those are a couple of the stigmas. So again, we are trying to break those barriers, break those stigmas. That it is absolutely it shows your manhood if you go to therapy, and it shows your Christianity if you go to therapy as Black people. Because again, we do have to pray, but depression, anxiety are heavy, deep, and real. And sometimes not prayer always works, but sometimes we need a little extra, and that's what God put us here for. So my ministry and the way I give him glory, honestly, is to provide that channel, that canal for people to use when they're having some mental health issues. And they're all around, coming from homelessness, joblessness, all these different things. Being on the job and having all types of anxiety and depression. So it's heavy, it's deep, it's real. Children with the ADHD and the ODD is heavy, deep, and real. I'm immersed in it. Been doing this for 20 plus years. I'm here. We are here. Health and wellness is always prevalent. If you don't have good mental health, physical health is gonna they're hand in hand. You can't have one without the other, and they both have to be. That makes the whole person.
Thank you so very much. And you've spoken to many of the folks and many of the concerns. I'll give you, Darlene, an opportunity to speak to some of those other people and some of those other thoughts that they have when they're sitting up there twiddling their fingers saying, yeah, they always say church is okay, but let me give you an opportunity to chime in as well before we go to questions, Darlene.
Okay, so I literally did grow up in church. And so, we've always heard this thing, just take it to the Lord in prayer. And so what happens is the little girl that's being molested by the family member in the home is not able to share that because we're told to, minimize our conversations about those kind of things. What we do is we provide a community outreach for that as well. We have support workers that we provide that personal. So they'll speak with Miss Hewitt, who's a therapist, but then what we do, because they can speak to her maybe once a week, insurance has limitations on that, interestingly enough. And so they'll speak with her with once a week, but we have a community support program where they can speak to them at least 2 to 3 times a week, and it's more personal. We help them with jobs, with homelessness, with building an entrepreneurship program as well. We're in partnerships with a lot of people in the Prince George's County area for that. We talk to the women who've been victims of domestic violence and things. We offer a safe place for them here as well. We're in partnership with other organizations that if they're in an immediate crisis, we have a team of people that they can call and they'll put them up in a hotel. I got into this because, as I think I shared with you, I went through a lot with mental health during the COVID season. When COVID first came out, I got COVID. The second time it came out, I got it again. I have a pulmonary disease, so I was hospitalized with COVID, blood clot, and pneumonia. And after that second bout, I went through a major depression. But how I was able to bring myself out of that was working with people that have mental health issues as well. I have a client base in DC, but spending time and talking to them helped me realize that realistically you do have a problem, but it's been nothing less than a blessing for me to be able to work with them because they've helped me to come out of what I was dealing with. Something that took me forever to verbalize. And now that I work with them, I'm more free with it. I'm able to relate to what they're going through. And that's what people need. They need the relationships. They don't want to sit on the couch and you sitting there writing something and say, okay, and look at your watch and say, okay, our time is up. You know, I think that's unfair, and that's not what we want to do. We like to have fun here while we educate. We teach them self-care and how to take care of themselves and positive affirmation, how to talk to yourself, talk yourself through it. There's a church song that says, speak over yourself.
Okay.
That's right. Okay. Well, you know, you wrapped it right as my one was coming. So that was really good. Mayor Benitez, pardon?
I said, that's that church upbringing.
Well, you know how that goes, right? And when you come up to somebody in the microphone, you know, just sit up a little bit, you know.
See, I'm a preacher's grandkid, been through it.
I
Trust me.
was raised in the church too. Yes, that is correct. I know either Mayor Benitez or Mayor Tremino Lopez, you have a question? Instead of calling you, I'll let y'all unmic yourselves to ask the question. Mayor,
Not a question. It's more like a assurance that Mrs. from DSW, an associate talking, is that the stigma that we have there, that we as a leaders, we cannot show weakness and we have to look strong all the time, but we actually, there are times that we are dragging ourselves. And what we need is empowerment, but sometimes it can be difficult, especially when you get to those moments that you are in election time, people want to rip you off, not knowing that you already have, you know, a heart, you have a soul that you need to fill with kindness, because what you're doing is doing it for the heart. Because for those that are in municipal government, you all know that this is not to make money. This is because you have a passion for your community, because you have a heart that you want to give in a way you want to retribute what the blessings you have received. But at the same time, you also need that empowerment, that assurance that you're going to be fine. But sometimes, you know, we have to show our best face, the best smile, even though we have to cry after, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
we need to start talking. We need to start normalizing that, because we don't, you probably heard, and I'm sorry that I have to mention this, mental health, what happened to the mayor of Hyattsville. So
Yes.
there are times, there are days that we feel in the same way, like, you know, what is the reason we exist when you're feeling attacked or you're feeling like diminished, when you know that you're giving everything you have.
Yes.
So that
And
was
it's
thank
really
you.
important. I'm glad you mentioned that point. And Mayor Benitez, well, did you want to respond, Darlene? I thought I saw you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so in response to that, you are so right. I am a former DC police officer, and at the time that I was on the force, we didn't have the debriefing. We didn't have that opportunity. And so as the mayor was just saying, how do you deal with it? Because you have to always put on a face. And after a while, putting on that face diminishes how you really feel. But you can't say, "Oh, you know, I'm having." People ask you, "How you doing?" You say, "Oh, I'm having a bad day today mentally." And half the time they don't listen. They say, "Oh, okay, good. Glad you're doing good." And you're like, "You haven't heard a word I said. You haven't heard a word I said." But it's something we do. We camouflage, and from experience, it wears you down. It wears you down mentally, emotionally, and then it hits the physical part. They all go together. And that's why we try to encourage our clientele to just do some positive affirmations. Do them in the mirror. Look at yourself and say, you know what? Today is going to be a good day. Today I love me. Yesterday I felt a little suspect, but today I love me. And so those are the things that we have to practice daily.
Thank you so much. And Mayor Benitez, you have the final question.
No, definitely. I want to thank you guys, first of all, for making sure you speak truth to power when it comes to the stigma. It's the same thing with the Latino and the immigrant community. It is like we have to prove that our existence is value and is meaningful. And in doing so, we don't take care of ourselves. And that goes from the topest, highest level political down to your mother, who's like the highest, like person, when it comes to your household. And I think that even the thing they said with affirmation, and it needs to get to a point where it's okay to say, I'm not feeling well, right? It's okay to be like, you know what? Today is hard. It's a very long day and it should be fine, but not to the point where, I know at times they feel like if our leaders are doing okay, they look like they have their things put together, the whole city's together. And it is a lot of weight to carry, right? But I said, like, if we all put a little bit of piece of the work we need to do together to try to get this done, we all manage to pull together. But mental health is something that we need to look after when it comes to our health, when it comes to education, because if not, we are continuing to like lacking in what might have put you away for like a few hours to say, I need a mental health day for a couple of hours a day. That later becomes for weeks or months trying to get yourself. So I would say, please continue manifesting the importance of having people to know that this is what is needed for our communities to hear, especially with diverse communities. We do not need to prove to anyone that we have the right to exist. So therefore, if we're not feeling well emotionally or mentally, we need to seek that help, and that does not make us any weaker.
Absolutely. Well, I couldn't have think of a better way to close that section out.
Oh.
We're actually running a little over, and we're about to close out. I certainly wanted to thank this entire panel. Thank you to Mayor Robinson, Petrella Robinson. Thank you to Mayor Selena Benitez, and thank you to Mayor Rocio Tremino Lopez, and thank you to our DSW and Associates ladies, Darlene, and also please
Miss Tamara Hewitt.
Miss Hewitt and Miss Wood. Thank you so much for all being here, and we'll close out this panel. Thanks so much. And we'll be going to another panel, but we really appreciate you. And the message that you brought, I feel and hope will be embraced. Before you go, though, we did have a wonderful message, sending love to our mayors and council members who have had no option but to lead and be on the front lines during the pandemic. You are appreciated, coming from Pamela Boozer, with an amen, amen by Michelle Darden Lee. Mayors, you're appreciated, and the audience appreciates you as well. I get to say that, and that's a good way to close. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We appreciate you. And now we're going to go to our next panel. We have two of our resident artists. Now, I always tell you about Michelle Darden Lee. She's not coming on right now, but I can't talk about the folks from the Media Arts Lab without talking about our director, Michelle Darden Lee, because she is the director over there at the Media Arts Lab, and she does so with love, and she creates a community. One of the things that I think is really important, coming off of what our mayor said, we need to come together and have come together as communities. Now, over at the Media Arts Lab, they already have a community. They already have a family. And I'm thinking about, I've been trying to get some funds to start cooperatives so that right within the Media Arts Lab, we can start other support networks, because you need so much more. But we have with us Sherry Lumpkin. She's the founder and executive director of Ragababy Exchange. Hi, Sherry.
Hi, how are you?
All right, good to have you. And we have Geeta Raj, president and founder of Global Sleepover. Hi, Geeta.
Hello, good afternoon.
And I finished my praises all due to Michelle Darden Lee. She actually manages the Gateway Arts Center. And Geeta was one of the original resident artists from the Media Arts Lab. And this whole lab has turned into something that you wouldn't believe. There are memberships, there are going to be sound studios, podcasting studios, there's all kinds of opportunities. And so I didn't finish saying thank you to Michelle Darden Lee. Now, this discussion today, we're going to talk about two things that Sherry Lumpkin and Geeta Raj are actually engaged in right now. But when we're talking about mental health, what's become very important is to talk about how we move ourselves from the prism, sometimes from the frozen state of being, to a state where we can move again. You ever wake up in the morning and you find, you say, I have so much to do, I just can't get it going. And I think that what these two young ladies do are things that help people to be intrinsically motivated from within, to come to love yourself from within. So with that much said, and Al being so much over time, we'll start with Sherry and then we'll go to Gita, and you can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well,
Sherry.
greetings. Thank you for having me. So I'm Sherry Roberts Lumpkin, and as you said, I am the founder and the executive director of the Rag Baby Exchange. The
Okay.
Rag Baby Exchange, we like to call ourselves self-love advocates, and it's about self-care. It's about healing from trauma and pain. It's about seeing yourself as you are, not as the media has created about brown and Black people. We use doll making as our tool. It's like we're using therapy to create an image of ourselves, actually from the inside out, releasing negative self-talk and replacing it with positive affirmation. And in this workshop, we have specific steps that we go through each part of creating the doll that helps you to release the beauty that you are. And once that you have released this, you have 3 ways of exchanging. You can exchange it with your negative self-talk for your positive affirmation. You can exchange it by giving it to someone who is in need of love, somebody who may be in the hospital, somebody that just feels sad. Or you can exchange this doll with another group of people. We've done workshops with people in Colombia, Cuba, Panama, and we shared and exchanged our similarities and our differences. And that's what the Rag Baby Exchange is about. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sherry and Gita?
So I am the founder and also the director of a children's organization called the Global Sleepover. And many often wonder what the Global Sleepover is. And it's definitely an enticing name, I think. It's really, we've started this organization to where we want to bring storytelling to kids. And I was inspired to begin it to make education accessible, but also make the type of education accessible, teaching about multiculturalism, teaching about tolerance, teaching about global cultures. So we've grown through the years, and today we are in 7 countries globally. Our headquarters are at the Gateway Media Arts Lab and here in Prince George's County, and we run summer camps, workshops. We create interactive and multimedia materials, all for youth. Some of our programs have been in refugee camps, for instance, with children that come from underserved communities. Really, we tell stories and we engage children in storytelling, which ends up being making the youth that we work with confident communicators, enables them to see themselves as part of the world, and not just the world from the outside, but see themselves as being change makers in the world. And also just having an engaging experience where they get to tell a story of their own. And so through these programs, we hope to empower, and we also hope to encourage youth to build and see their future.
Thank you so much, Gita. I know that, I'm gonna tell my age, Marva Collins, one of my mentors, and Queen Mother Moore were very, very intent upon sharing the importance of valuing self-worth. And from both of you, as I said before, you speak to the inner. And if, because of the stereotypes, because of the socialization, because of the negative mantras and negative messages that young people of color get, oftentimes it's a struggle to just stand up. And what you all do helps them to not only stand up, but to stand up and to be proud, and you give them the tools that help them to claw their way ahead. I was talking with Sherry the other day, and we started talking. I gave my age again and started talking about Kenneth Clark, and how he used those dolls and that doll experiment to find out how young girls of color felt. It was girls and boys felt about dolls, and which doll was the good doll and the bad doll. And unfortunately, if that experiment, it was actually done a few years ago, but every time that experiment is done, we still have the same results. So we have work to do. Sherry, you talked a lot about Rag Baby Exchange, but I believe that Michelle always usually does this for me, but since she's not here, you don't speak much about yourself. What is the motivation and inspiration? I know we talk about the dolls, we talk about the exchange, we talk about the pride, but there's a part of you that comes out in this. And I know you had an exhibit over at the Phillips collection. And tell us a little bit about you, what motivates you, and what you hope for people to get out of the experience.
Wow. So what motivates me is probably me. I felt extremely shy as in college, not as a kid, but mostly in college. I just felt like I didn't fit in. I was different. I wasn't as beautiful as the other girls. And meanwhile, I had a modeling gig and I still didn't think that I was beautiful. And I felt that just thinking that I wasn't good enough held me back. And so I also saw it in the African-American community a lot with colorism. I saw racism, but I saw more colorism. I didn't see racism until I began to work out in the world. And seeing the colorism, I felt that people needed to be more kind to each other and to accept that, both sides are beautiful, all sides are beautiful. And I wanted to find a way to help, as a doll maker, that I was already making dolls and having exhibits and selling them while I was working as well. I would see when people would ask me to do a workshop of some kind, I would really see kids and women struggling with even choosing a color of a doll that's in their own complexion. And when I would question them about it, they would get all like, just a little bit stressed even about the question. And if you probe further, people are telling them that their color is not pretty or their color is not good enough. It's like the old paper bag test, while that didn't happen actually to me, I was told about it often, that people had to be lighter than a paper bag. People had to have a comb or fork go through their hair to make sure that they were considered beautiful. And I wanted to change that. I wanted to change the thoughts that people were having about themselves. I wanted to change what the media narrative said about us. And working in the media with magazines, what I noticed when I was at a white establishment magazine, that whenever they wanted to put a person on the cover that was Black who had done something wrong, they darkened them to make them look more evil. I don't know why darkness makes you more evil, but they darkened up the photograph for that. And whenever they wanted someone to be beautiful, they lightened them, as in Beyonce has been lightened on a lot of magazine covers. And so I wanted to change this idea that your natural brownness, darkness is already beautiful, that you don't have to be lightened to be more European to accept that. Because not only accepting your own beauty not only helps you realize that you are beautiful, but it also empowers you to know that you can be and do anything that you want. And once I started to teach the classes, I found that kids in particular were so enamored with the doll that they made that was of them, that I was like, they're seeing something for the first time that they didn't see. coupled with the fact that once you release negative self-talk, you replace it with positive affirmation, we're actually stuffing love notes into the dolls. These dolls are holding this energy, and energy is real. And so that is my motivation for continuing.
See, there's a lot more to that. And I think that and Rhett was enjoying the conversation, and I went back to him and I said, you know, my job is to get you all to just talk about yourselves, because you are it. You know, what you're doing is, I mean, and I'm not just trying to be flattering, it's very important. That's why I went back to Marva Collins. If you can teach a child to love themselves, that's what these people, Queen Mother Moore, Marva Collins, all of the great people who have impacted our lives the most. If you can teach someone to love themselves and to know that there's not anything they can't accomplish, then you can help them move mountains.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think there's anyone who's been accomplished. I can't really say anyone, but most of the people I hear talk about their success, if you start listening out for it, you'll see that someone will say, my parents told me that I could do anything. You know, I had a lot of affirming conversation as I was growing up, and that's what's important. Now, Gita, you're dealing directly with children. And I know when I saw Global Sleepover at first, I thought it was sleepover. You know, maybe you all went to different countries, or you had your boxes and stuff where you used to send out cultural information and everything. And now you've digitized this experience so people can experience it more. And now you're digitizing and expanding your horizon and expanding the experience into other areas. Tell us about first the digitization and the experience and the importance you feel that children have in terms of being made to feel whole and being able, as you say, to exchange cultures and understand that other cultures have the same things and problems they have, and then introduce your project you're working on now.
Sure. Everything we do is based on storytelling. Storytelling is empowering. If we hear a story, we become inspired. We tell a story, we become inspired. So a lot of our projects and programs that we work with youth are based on telling a story. A youth tells a story about themselves. And in that process, the child, there may be a child that doesn't really feel comfortable reading or writing. So we encourage them and work with them and say, okay, well, here's a creative basis to build your story on. And a child is all of a sudden has written an entire story that he or she may not have realized. And they're writing about these issues and these topics and other cultures, about stories that just are not told. And this is the importance of what I think we're doing, is telling the stories that are not being told and telling the important stories. And you bring up the digitization aspect of it, and really that interaction with digitization is meant to make things accessible. So, you know, we often know, well, what is digitization? It's more than just being on a computer screen. So we use interactive media, we use multimedia. If a youth may be better suited visually versus on text, then we support that. So you can tell a story through so many ways. You can tell a story through text, through music, through audio, through little skits. So however that story is told, we use digitization to tell that story. And then the real aspect of digital, which I think is the most critical part of what we're doing, is digital makes it accessible. So our youth, we have a program in South Sudan, in Juba, South Sudan, at a school there. And we can have a youth experiencing the same story, meeting students from other countries, all via the mobile phone. And so we have youth here also, you know, connecting via video, via phone calls. So the digital aspect really brings that education, that learning, that experience to them and makes it accessible. In education circles, a lot of people talk about, accessibility and equity, and really what is that? And so this is just one little step to make things more available and make these type of projects and activities more fun. And then finally, you had asked about our current project, which I am so honored to be working on this. I think it's a pinnacle to a lot of what we've been working on. And really, it's the coming back to telling the stories that need to be told and need to be heard. So the last 6 to 8 months, we have been working on developing materials for a site in Auburn, New York, that was the home and is currently the resting place for Harriet Tubman. It's where she lived for 50 years and continued her activism until she passed away in 1913. Many people know about her life with the Underground Railroad, but don't realize that after that, for over 50 years, she continued her activism. So her home that she built there in Auburn, New York, and the church that she went to for 23 years, they're all a national site, and it was newly signed into Congress about 5 years ago by President Obama. So we are working to create these materials, to tell these stories about Harriet Tubman, about her community, about her faith, about her activism to youth. And we're applying a lot of our digital interactive technology and also using our youth to test the stories and to help us create the stories.
And what do you hope to accomplish in terms of how the children feel about this icon? What is it that you're bringing to this experience that you feel may have some life-changing outcomes for them?
Really to see themselves as activists, to see themselves as powerful, to encourage them, to learn about Harriet Tubman's life, but also to take action and know that they themselves can be an agent of change in their community.
Thank you so much. I mean, I can't wait. I didn't even ask the last panel, how can people find out more about what you're doing and become engaged as well?
So we have our website and our social media on Facebook and Instagram. We're not so active these past few days, but www.globalsleepover.com.
Thank you so much. Now, Sherry, we're going to give you an opportunity to come back to what you were talking about and to just say what you hope. We talked about the experience that the young people have and a little bit of your motivation. One, share how people can come in touch with you, what you have coming up, and what you hope for children to feel after they experience the doll making. Now, we talked a little bit about that before, but moving forward, what are your hopes for where you're going?
Okay, well, you can reach me at www.ragbabyyexchange.com. And you can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at Ragbaby Exchange. And then on Twitter is Peace Dolls. So what I have coming up is that I'm working with a book author who just released a book called Mermaid Kinsey. And Mermaid Kinsey is a children's book. It's illustrated. And we have been on several calls talking about Black mermaids and Black goddesses and our ancestors. So I've created a box, and we'll be doing it at different places like the Philly African American Museum. We'll be at Cheris Feminist Bookstore in Atlanta, the Anacostia Arts Center in Washington, D.C. We'll have in-person and online classes. People will order their box with a doll body, mermaid tail, and information about how we're going to create this. We'll do a book signing, a book talk, and we'll go into the workshop. So we're really excited because Mermaid Kinsey is not only about a little girl empowering herself because she's sad, but also about she discovers that the ocean is a mess and she's cleaning up the plastics. So we're using sustainable fabrics. We're using pieces that came from somewhere else, including the fabric that came from Ruth Carter from Black Panther and Coming to America too. She donated fabric to the Rag Baby Exchange, and we'll be putting those pieces of fabric in the boxes. What I really want women and children to get from the workshop, because it is a lot of workshops that I do with women, is that understanding that there's generational trauma, but understanding when you work on this trauma, when you work on yourself, when you release the negative self-talk, replace it with positive affirmation, and remember who you are, you start to break the cycle of generational trauma. You not only break that cycle, but you heal yourself in the present, and you make it better for the future of your own kids not to have to be dealing with generational trauma. And so that's what I hope for the future. In addition, I really hope that we can do certain kinds of works that will bring attention to how we're treated in the media, how we're talked about, how that affects our kids. Like, you know, we have to have a crown act to wear our hair the way that it comes out of our heads. That is unacceptable. We should be able to wear our hair any way we want. Little girls are crying on internet about thinking they're not attractive because they don't have straight hair. It's ridiculous. So these are kinds of things that I want to help to create, do PSAs, do some kind of attention grabbing information using dolls and knowledge to change those things.
Well, you are certainly a change agent. And
you.
we appreciate that. I mean, I was reading an article that stated that statues are going up for the women of Hidden Figures.
Yes.
There's statues that are going up. It's this week is the dedication. I think it's the 23rd or the 24th. Pardon?
I said, that's great.
Yeah, it's this week. They're dedicating the statues. Now, before there was Hidden Figures and before somebody wrote about these women, you didn't know what happened. And so sometimes we just have to bring it to the light. So we appreciate you doing that. And Gita, I give you an opportunity to wrap up and have some closing remarks as well.
Thank you. It's just certainly been so powerful to see our youth tell stories and see themselves as being part of their local community and also part of their global community. And I want to close just by echoing what you said earlier, Pat, about the Gateway Media Arts Lab. I have an organization that I started globally, and I was looking for a home and a community. And I found the lab in the early iteration, and it certainly not only was a community where we could grow as Global Sleepover, where I grew as an artist, but it's a community that exhibits all of the traits and qualities that we talk about in our stories with youth and we talk about in our programs. So it's a wonderful place to have a home, and we really hope to continue being part of the community and working with the youth.
Oh, thank you so very, very much, both Gita and Sherry. And I'd like to bring in anyone who'd like to ask questions. If you have questions, I know that you were asked to submit questions. I'm checking out over here, trying to do so without turning my head to see if you have any questions. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I know sometimes it's in Q&A, but I don't see any there. So you're welcome to put them in the chat if you have any questions. But I see that Mayor Selena Benitez has said, certainly it's more a statement. Both Gita and Sherry, you're both empowering our communities. And that is certainly something that we certainly know. Any other questions? And if anyone wants to come on mic and not even come on camera and want to ask a question, you're welcome to do so. But is there anything that either of you didn't get a chance to say that you think would be helpful for people as it relates to self-empowerment and imaging? And Michelle has a question too. What have you all individually done to maintain your own personal health and healing during these challenging times? Any takers?
Well, for me, it's a lot of meditation, a lot of self-care, just things that are really good for your health. I mean, every morning I have my tea, but during the day I take a tea break, and I just try to remind myself, why I'm here and what I'm doing, because it can be so overwhelming and traumatizing during these times. So meditation is the biggest thing, and yoga when I do it.
Absolutely. I know about meditation.
Yeah.
Gita? And before you start talking, Gita, Mayor Benitez, if you're still with us, that question's for you too. So Gita, you go ahead, and I just cued her. Go ahead.
Sure. I think two things. One is really take time to be in nature. And the second is gratitude, through gratitude for everything that we have, but also expressing gratitude by being there with others and helping others in whatever possible way that I am able to help.
Appreciate it. Mayor Benitez, hi.
I've been so fascinated listening to both of these outstanding women in the community that make me so happy to be involved in this. But at least for me, I have a 6-year-old daughter. So I think when I want to disconnect, she pushes me to make sure I know, like, this is family time and I need to respect the boundary, and anything around it, I will go ahead and like see it before or after. But it allows me to be able to go and find my inner child and be like running and coloring, looking at movies and different things that, especially the nature, for me to be able to find that core system and where I'm at, and, believe strongly that I've done enough, that the world's not going to fall apart if I take time to myself to be able to be with her. So to me, my family is what like puts me together, but also allows me to be able to see the things in her eyes and relearn and continue to like be closer to who I am as a person.
Oh, absolutely. And please raise her name. We saw her a little earlier come in and do a cameo. So please say her name.
Isabella.
Isabella. Okay. Tell Isabella we said hello. And
I will.
Children have a way of grounding you, right? It's not much you can do about that. It's not like you have much of a choice there. Hi, Isabella. Anyone else want to chime in? Go ahead, Sherry. It looked like you had your mic open.
No.
Okay.
I have nothing to say. Thank you.
Okay. And it looks like, what do you see as the biggest challenges to empower the youth and help them achieve mental healthiness?
I see media and social media not knowing what's real, and finding the negative instead of being reinforced with the positive, right? And oftentimes thinking that what they see on social media is this person is having this perfect, beautiful life, and they can't quite measure up when that person is only showing you the beautiful part of their life for that moment, that there are other parts of that they need to understand are happening, and we're just showing the face of the beauty. So I feel like that is what challenges having the youth even do a workshop like the Rag Baby Exchange, because it's not fast moving. It's not, a video game where they can move their hands really quickly and flashes of colors. But oftentimes, if you get them to be in this space where they do this workshop and they can focus, they become so enamored with it and happy that they did it. But using your hands to create something is not as popular as using your hands to be on social media these days.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
but it's transformative.
Yes, I agree. Mm-hmm.
And that's very well important. I'd like to thank William Cannon, who says, thank you to all of you Queen sisters. Much love. With you, there is hope. So we certainly thank William for his comment. And I guess we'll just go around and do closing comments. So I want to give each of you an opportunity to say whatever you think we haven't said. Doesn't matter, no topic or anything like that. What you feel from your heart you'd like to share. You each have a half a minute to do so. We'll start with Gita.
I wanted to share a story that I learned about Harriet Tubman, and how at the age of 74, she bought 20 acres of land with money that she didn't have, with the purpose of fulfilling a dream to open a home for the aged. And that she did at the age of 74. An example of somebody that just continues activism and looks for ways to build those dreams until the very, very last minutes, and even without resources.
Wow.
So,
Thank you so much. Mayor Benitez?
I think that the idea of people thinking that they have to be able to volunteer or give for like days and weeks or months, it's not a reality. Even if you could give an hour away to volunteer or to help or even write a check to allow other people to be able to help, it's power in order to be able to embrace our communities. Because the reality is like we're all doing as much as we can with the limited resources that we have. So sometimes that extra hour of help you might be able to give goes a long way to people that need it. And I will say, we will continue to create safe havens within the whole entire city so people to know that they could approach us if they need help. You can find me on Facebook at Mayor Benitez, Mayor Selena Benitez on Facebook. And if you have any question for the other mayors, our job is to connect it to even them. If I don't have the answer, I will find who has it, but we're here to help. And at the end of the day, we're stronger together. And that's why this panel is so beautiful, because we're all doing the various things to get us where we need to be, and not just overcome the pandemic, but rise above it and change the things that we should have been changing in the past in order to grow as people and as a community as a whole. So thank you for this wonderful opportunity, and it's an honor to be with all of you guys.
Thank you. And Sherry, last but not least, Sherry.
So I just want to mention, I heard Gita talk about Harriet Tubman being 74, so incredible, but also with Michelle and the Gateway Media Arts Lab, they hooked me up basically with the Phillips Gallery. I got to know them, meet them. They wanted my workshop and did it. I have some of my boxes there. Excellent. But what I did there was I did a exhibit of my doll boxes and doll making with the show that was there with Alma Thomas. And Alma Thomas was a Black woman who began her painting career at 64. And by the time, actually 65, and by the time she was well into her 70s, she had shown at the Whitney and everything, and was one of the first Black women to do so. So I just want to say that once you are empowered, it doesn't matter what age you are, once you're empowered to believe in yourself, you can even start at 65 or 74 and have your dreams come true, as long as you get that you are loved. So I just want everybody to feel that they're loved.
That's a wonderful way to wrap. I mean, just a wonderful way to wrap. I actually saw a movie with Kimberly Elise, and she was about to lose her home. It was the third generation, and she was going to lose her home, and she needed $4,000, $400,000 in 10 days. And she baked cakes. She made it on the news, and the Hilton joined in, and the whole thing was that she didn't believe in herself. And she had one guy who was helping her, and he believed in her. He said, but you'll never believe in yourself. And when she believed in herself, that's when it all came together. So what each of you do is you help people to believe hard and believe more of themselves and within themselves. And you give them the courage to move forward. So I certainly thank you. I thank you for being on the panel. I thank Mayor Rocio Tremino Lopez. I thank Mayor Robinson. I thank our Darlene Wood and her guests. And I thank you, Gita Raj, Sherry Lumpkin, Mayor Selena Benitez, We have an engineer. We have a producer. Samuel Surafile has been keeping us all together. I popped off the screen and on the screen, and he just click, click, click. You see, now, if I was monitoring all this, we wouldn't still be here. But I thank Samuel. I thank Michelle for helping us to stay on task and for maintaining and creating the love that created what Sherry and Gita are doing. You all were doing things, but it's the love that makes it real. So I thank Michelle Darden-Lee for that. I thank Kiana Clark. Don't you love this graphic? This graphic is awesome. Kiana Clark is the curator for the Gateway Arts Center, the curator for Gateway CDC, and she's always there when I ask her. She even joined in here. I really just told you so you could come in and comment, Kiana. So we're going to, for everyone, come on camera so we can say bye. Those who want to come on camera, the rest of you can clap. But we certainly have some thank yous coming through. And I just thank the viewers. Those of you who are still with us, we thank you for tuning in. God is with us. And I hope that we all realize that we're strong by ourselves, but we're much stronger when we're together and we let spirit come in to help us embrace each other. So I love you all. And we can all say hello to everybody because we're all a family. And Sam, we're all here because we are a family. We are all one. And I certainly thank all of you for all you've done, and for Gateway CDC, for our sponsor. We have the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission is our primary funder and sponsor, and Gateway CDC. On behalf of Tony Lee and the board of directors, I'm Pat Thornton signing off, wishing you all